All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Jeff Batts. I am the product consultant here at Rapid Intake, and today is one of our extensive trainings that will go over ProForm, which is ProForm in depth. So we'll talk about the getting a course started, how you build a course. We'll talk about the different types of pages inside of ProForm and the types of things that you can do. Now this isn't, again, this is more in depth, so it's more than just an overview of the product. So we'll talk about how to get the product going and how to get some courses produced as well. We'll also talk about some of the other products that come bundled with our new ProForm Premium editions. If you don't have those, we'll talk about, or there are ways that you can still upgrade and get the latest version as well. If you do have them, then great, then you already have the tools that you need to even enhance your courses even more. So if you have any questions, the way that this webinar works is I can't actually hear you, but if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the question and answer area on the right hand side. I won't be looking at that the entire time, but towards the end and in the middle I'll be looking at that to make sure all of your questions are answered. So feel free to type those in whenever you want, and then I will stop and take a look at those questions and then answer them for everyone here. So let's go ahead and get started. What I want to point out first of all is on our website we do have some extensive training on there, and also this recording that I'm doing right now will be on the website that you can access at any time if you need to review it later as well. To get to that training, all you have to do is come into Resources, go down to Training, and then go to Online Tutorials. When you go to Online Tutorials, it'll take you to a list of different tutorials available inside of ProForm, or inside of or on rapidintake.com, and then you can go through some of those tutorials to help you get started. Now we are currently working on some other tutorials, but we will be covering most of this, like using a soft skills branching scenario, converting a PowerPoint, packaging your course for SCORM or CD-ROM as well. So we'll talk about most of that here. Now there's also a Getting Started with ProForm, the basics, which is an overview of the product, but again this is more extensive into the product. So to access this recording, probably by next week, all you do is you need to come to this page and then click on where it says Live Webcast. If you click on where it says Live Webcast and scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's a section about webinar recordings. This section has a couple of the other webinars that we've already done. Microcycle testing, which talks about reviewing your course and doing different things and making sure everything is taken care of about your course. Creating flash-based courses using Rapid Intake is an overview of both of our products. And then we also have a webinar about creating a custom style in ProForm and Unison. So if you want to even go more into depth, you can watch that recording about creating a custom style and access that from here. Now, the next line will be this recording, so I just wanted to point that out that you can review this later in case you've missed something or if you think I'm going too fast or something. So, okay, so let's go ahead and get started. ProForm is a desktop tool, and as you know, I don't have to explain much of it because most of you that are attending this do already know about ProForm. But ProForm is our desktop tool that comes packaged with different tools in order to make it even better. Now, this ProForm, our latest versions, which I'm going to come into our website and explain this a little bit just so there's no confusion. You may have a later version of ProForm that may not have included these extra tools. Our newer versions, which is our, or let me actually go to this, go to pricing, actually feature comparison, okay. So our new ProForm packages, we have three different packages. We have the ProForm Standard, we have the Standard Premium, and the Standard and the Professional Premium. Now, the differences between those is the Standard, you don't have these extra things as far as the Rapid eLearning Studio, the Swish animation tool, and the Rapid Cam screen recorder, and the games and the soft skills. If you have an older version of ProForm like FlashForm, you may not have these tools as well. Now you can upgrade to the latest version with these tools if you want to, and you can contact me later if you want to talk about that as well. And then the professional version we won't be going over today. If you really want to know, we'll talk a little bit about that here in a little bit, but if you really want to know the advantages of the professional version, I recommend going back to that tutorial area going to live webcast here, and then going down to the creating a custom style in ProForm and Unison. That really has to do with the professional version accessing the source files. So all that we'll be going over today, you can do with the standard or the standard premium or with FlashForm as well, with the exception of a few page types that we'll talk about those when we get in here. So let's go ahead and pull up this different launcher here. The first one is the main tool, the ProForm Rapid eLearning tool. This is where you put your course together. This is where you add different interactions, games, soft skills, and other things inside of there. Now, these interactions are very simple to create just by filling out the different page types, and we'll talk about all of the different page types available in there. Now, we recently added a tool to be able to go in and to animate different things inside of your ProForm course. Because those of you who have done anything inside of ProForm, you'll know that it is all form-based. And so it doesn't really lend itself well enough to create animations and time those up to audio and do different things like that. And so that's why we bundled in the tool Swish to be able to, which Swish actually just focuses on the animations, so you can create an animation, bring it inside of ProForm, and then add other interactions around that animation. And we'll talk about how to do that. Well, if you need to record a screen or record a PowerPoint or something, that's where the next tool comes in, the RapidCam screen recorder tool that allows you to record your screen, record narration, and to get that narration out to to get that narration out inside of, or out from RapidCam into ProForm, and then to use those inside of ProForm to kind of bundle everything together. So let's talk about, first of all, getting a project started inside of ProForm. When I'm ready to start a project in ProForm, the very first thing that I need to do is click on Start New Project. I can either do that or I can come over to my recent projects and continue working on a project from there. If I click on Start New Project, let me maximize this, it'll take me to my new project settings. Now, I need to establish the project settings for this course. Each project that I create inside of ProForm will be a separate course that I can then upload to a server, or I can upload to a learning management system at that point. So what I need to do first of all is I need to establish a folder on my desktop somewhere. So it could be in whatever folder you want, but I need to establish a project folder for this course specifically. So the very first thing coming over to the top left hand side is my project folder area. If I click on Browse, it'll pull up my a spot for me to go ahead and create a folder. And I'm just going to create a folder on my desktop for now. I'm going to click on Make New Folder from here. And then I'll name this Course 1. Now, as soon as I do that, I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Each course that you create needs its own folder because all of the files from the course, ProForm relies on multiple different files. And so all of the files for your course, in order to run perfectly, are going to be in that folder. And you don't want to have to sift through other things in that folder. So once you're ready to take that folder and make it available for your learners to go through, all you have to do is grab that folder, zip it up, and upload it to a learning management system when you're ready for that point. And so now that I have my folder, and I need to do this every time I create a new course. Now that I have my folder created, I'm going to go ahead and click on Project File Name. This is for my own reference. This is what the project file name is going to be, and the learners are not actually going to see this. And so I can just name this Course 1 if I want to, -Customer Service. Now, the only difference between ProForm Professional Premium and ProForm Standard Premium is Professional, you get access to the native Flash source files that these tools were built off of, and so you can access that and you can customize it. So if you don't see that, then that means you have the standard version, and which is fine because that's the only difference to being able to access those files and create your own custom styles inside of the professional version. So everything else that we do here will contain or will pertain to the standard version as well. Now the course properties allows me to adjust different things about this course. First of all, I can establish a title for this course. Whatever I do in the course properties area, and this may be review for some of you, and I apologize for that, but hopefully it's a basic overview for those people who are just getting started as well. But if I type in here the title, whatever I type in here will be visible for the learner. If I notice over on this right-hand side for the preview, I see a course title. And that course title for this style, whatever I type in here is going to show up on the top. And so I'm going to go ahead and just type in customer service for now. I have different things that I can affect on the course properties area. Now, if I come back over to my preview, every course style inside of ProForm has the necessary buttons. It has buttons like the glossary button. It has buttons like the next and back button, the media controller, a read button as well. All those buttons are controlled here, so if I don't want something to appear, I go ahead and just simply uncheck that, and then now the audio button won't appear. Or I simply uncheck the glossary button if I don't want there to be a glossary at all. Now I can also adjust the page transition, how I want this page or this course to go from one page to the next. So if I want it to fade from one page to the next, I can click on fade, and then it will fade from one page to the next as it's going forth. There's also a transition time. There's data tracking properties as well, which we'll talk about here in a second. But those are my course properties and in that area. Now the next, I want to skip over to the style section. Like I mentioned before, the style section is the user interface of what the learner is going to interact with. And a lot of these ProForm has a lot of styles to choose from. And a lot of these styles you can go ahead and change different aspects to make it fit more of your company look and feel. And you can change the headers, the glossaries, images, and everything like that so it matches more of how you want it to match. Now some of those styles you can do that. Some of them you can't. So it depends on what style you actually choose. So in this case, the style that I chose, I can't actually go in there and change different colors and aspects. If I have the professional version, I could get into the source file in order to change different things for this style if I want to from there. So again, it depends on the style, and also if you've created your own custom style, it would become part of the drop-down box. Like this one that we're seeing right here is a custom style, and we'll take a look at this, and if you want this, feel free to let me know, and I can send this to you for free, and there's some features that you may want in this style. But in this style, I created it as a custom style, and then I made it part of my drop-down box, and so now any course that I create, I can use this style for that course. And so I can go ahead and have multiple different courses with this same style, the same next and back button. So if I want something standard, I can do that as well. In my data tracking properties, this allows me to adjust how this course will get reported over to my learning management system if I have one. I can adjust, or if I just want flash cookies turned on, if this is going to be on a website. If my learning management system reports in SCORM 1.2, I select SCORM 1.2 here, or if it reports in SCORM 2004, I select 1.3 because 1.3 is also SCORM 2004. If you don't know what your learning management system does, most of them do either one. But if you don't know what your learning management system does, I would contact your learning management system vendor to see which ones they accept. But by doing that, that will just make it so that all of this data will be reported according to SCORM 1.2 or 2004. Now I can also adjust how this course will get reported as complete. If I adjust this to be, I have a couple different options, and if I adjust the course completion status to be completed, that means that the learner will not get credit for finishing this course until they've actually completed each page inside of the course. As they go through the course, it gives them a check mark on each page, letting them know that they've actually gone through that, or they've gone to that page. And so if I want that to happen and make sure that, if I want to make sure they visited each page before they get credit for finishing it, I can just select completed. Other options include like passed, meaning that if they've passed the quiz, whether or not they finished each page, they'll still get credit for finishing the course. And so if I don't want to set this up, I can just leave it as none. Now when I'm creating a course, what I like to do is I like to leave these both as none until I'm ready to publish my course. Then I come in here and I switch this over. The reason why is because sometimes if you have this selected as SCORM 1.2 and you preview the course, you may get this error that pops up that says looking for SCORM API. And that's because it's trying to find something to report to according to SCORM, and it can't find anything when you're previewing it. So just to avoid that, I mean, if you clicked yes on that message, then you can still get to the course. But just to avoid having to click yes every time I preview the course, I just leave that at none until I'm finished with the course. Now we talked about completing the page, so that when the learner goes through each page inside of the course, it gives them a check mark automatically saying that they've gone to that page. If I want to make sure that they have completed the content on that page before they get credit, I can go ahead and select this next option, which is Use Page Complete. This will make sure that the learner has finished the content on that page until before they get credit for finishing that page. So to give you an example, if there's a 3-minute video on that page and I want to make sure that the learner has gone through all 3 minutes of that video, I just select this option here, and until they've gone through all 3 minutes of that video, they don't get that check mark saying that they've completed that page. Now, if I select that, there's also one other option called the auto navigation. One warning about that is the auto navigation is more for presentation mode. So it's not for anything like if you have games and interactions that you want them to stop and play those games at certain points. That's not, I wouldn't use auto navigation. But if you have a series of videos that you want to play and just to navigate from one page to the next as the learner's watching it, and then maybe the last page could be a quiz page, then you can select auto navigation, and then it will just, as soon as the one video is done, it'll advance on to the next page and play the next video. But if it doesn't have any type of timeline or audio or anything like that to time it up, if you have this selected, it will skip over a game page, it'll skip over quiz pages, and then go on to the next page. So that's one word of warning there. Okay, so these are my settings. I established my settings. Now I'm ready to start building my course. To start building my course in my settings here, all I have to do is click OK. Now, as I mentioned before, ProForm does rely on multiple different multiple different items in order to run on a course, and we'll talk about the course structure in a little bit. But right now, it's going to copy all of the necessary files that it needs so far in order to run the course. And then it will start me out with the topic inside of my course authoring area. If I ever need to go back to the project settings inside of ProForm, all I have to do is click on Edit Project. It'll pop up with these project settings, and I can swap it out to something else. This is useful if you wanted to start a project, and if someone's creating a custom style for you, and you don't want to have to wait for them to finish that style, you can go ahead and just start a project with a different style, and once that style is available, you can then switch it back to that, or switch it to the new style, and then all of this will then adapt to the new style. So that's how you go ahead and you get the course ready, and you can access it and go back over there. You can go back into here if needed. Okay, so essentially what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go into a course, and we're going to talk about the course structure here for a second. This is a course that's already finished, and I have a lot of the extra files in here, so don't worry about the files for now. We're going to talk about those later. But I'm going to talk about this finished course, and we're going to talk about how it was built and the different types of pages that were used in building this. So we have this style that I chose. This style is the black slider style that I customized, and I have my next and back buttons, I have my glossary button, my transcript button, my media controller as well. I also, now this is different than most styles that are available, and if you want this style, send me an email and I'd be happy to give this style to you for free. This style, if I click on the menu, it pops up, so now I can see the navigation inside of this style. So I can then skip through the different styles available, hide that, and then go on, or just click next and next and go on to the next pages. This style gives me more real estate in order to work with here. So again, if you want that, feel free to contact me. I'd be more than happy to send that to you. But essentially what we're doing is we're going to be building a table of contents on the left-hand side with different pages inside of that table of contents. You'll notice that we have chapters that separate the different pages. Now, those chapters are topics inside of ProForm. Forgive me if I say Unison. I also do Unison demos, but inside of ProForm, you can just go ahead and give each topic a name. You can name it chapters, you can name it modules, you can name it whatever you want, and these topics are just meant to separate different pages. So if I come down to the bottom left hand side, this folder plus icon allows me to add a folder, so I can go ahead and lay out my different chapters if I want to. Now inside of my different chapters, I can then start adding my different pages. Now all of my controls to add pages, delete pages, add topics, move pages, copy pages are all down at the bottom, and these are all my controls that have anything to do with adding and deleting pages or topics. And so to add a page inside of chapter 1, all I have to do is select on the add plus icon. Now before I do that, I want to talk about the different chapters. Coming back into this finished course, now this finished course is about how to use a kiosk. It's for a music company about how to use their different products. But for this, I have a couple different chapters inside of here. And you'll notice inside of chapter 1, I have 3 different pages. If I wanted to make sure that the learner has gone through all 3 pages before they go on to anything inside of chapter 2, I can do that inside of ProForm. Right now you'll notice that even though I haven't visited anything inside of chapter 1, I can go ahead and advance on to chapter 2 and it's not going to stop me. But if I go into my chapter 1, I select the navigation to be unrestricted or from unrestricted to restricted based on completion. If I did that and previewed it again, chapter 2 will now be grayed out to me. I'd still see it in my table of contents, but I wouldn't be able to click on anything until I've gone through all 3 pages inside of chapter 1. That's a nice feature if you want to make sure that some information is covered before they go on to other things as well. And so you can restrict the navigation for the learner just by selecting the navigation to be restricted based on completion. If you don't want that to happen, just go ahead and leave it as unrestricted. Couple other things about topics. You can have subtopics and different things however you wanted to organize it inside of here. Now let's go ahead and start adding the different pages. Pages will be inside of the topics, or they can be outside of the topics like this page is, just by adding the pages and deleting. If you wanted to delete all topics, you can do that as well. So coming over to my ProForm, all I have to do is come over to the bottom and click on Add a Page. It'll pull up with the new page dialog, and I can give this page whatever name I want. So it basically depends on what you want to have it. So in this case, I have the first page being the future of digital entertainment. Whenever I type that in, if I type that in here, that will be visible for the page title. The next thing I need to choose is I need to choose what type of page I want to add. In this case, it's a basic page. It has an image, it has some text, and it has some audio playing in the background. So this is a text, image, and audio page. There's other types of interactions that we'll be going over, but in this case, or to start out with, I just want to choose that same type of page. So I'm going to select that text, image, and audio page down at the bottom. By selecting the text, image, and audio page and then clicking OK, it'll now pull up a form for me to go ahead and fill this out. Now again, this may be review for some of you, but we will be getting into some other things as well. But as soon as it's added this page, I can change the title at any point if I needed to. But then I can come in here and start filling out my form here. So I have 3 different sections for this form. It's a text, image, and audio page. And so I have this text settings area, I have this audio settings area, and I have this image settings area. In my text, I can go ahead and start typing in my text. In my text field, I can also copy and paste from other things, such as Word or PowerPoint if I need to. Now, keep in mind, if you do that, it doesn't keep the formatting, but you can format it how you want inside of the text field. As soon as you, if you highlight it, you can change font color, font size, and font type as well inside of the page text. Now, as soon as I type in the text, I can now come down to the bottom and type in my note text. My note text is optional, and I'll give you a preview of it so you get an idea. It shows up on the bottom of the screen. So in this case, I have a note that says click next to continue in the course. And keep in mind these buttons may change names. And so as these go through, I can have more notes. I can have something that the learner needs to keep in mind as they're going through. And I can change that to either say note, tip, or a warning, basically. And so if I don't type anything in there, then it won't be visible for the learner. So this is also optional. We're going to come back and visit with the text fields. We're going to visit hyperlinking in a little bit because that's a nice feature that I like to spend a little bit more time on in a sample course. But there is a hyperlinking function that I'll just give you a preview of it here. You can use hyperlinking functions to have words go to specific items. So in this case, we're going to go to a specific glossary term that pulls up that glossary term just by clicking on the word. If I come back to the first page that we were on, you'll notice that I have other hyperlinks. This hyperlink, if I click on it, will go to a hidden page that's not visible inside of the menu. So there's other things that I can do as far as hidden pages. I can link to glossary terms and other things like that. There's also a click here to download a PDF. If I click here, it pulls up a spot for me to go ahead and download a PDF. That's a nice feature to be able to incorporate other things that you want to have the learner use inside of here. I've seen a math teacher actually have them click on that to pull up another calculator, a flash calculator that the student can use to be able to build or to use inside of their quizzes. And so they can then use that calculator as they're trying to take the quiz. I've also seen other people use it to have a full screen video pop up in a different window. I've also seen people use it to have an Excel file pop up that was pre-built that the learner can then fill out themselves and send it to someone as well. So there's a lot of different features with that hyperlink function that we're going to talk about, and that's why I wanted to spend a little bit more time on it, but we'll come back to that in a second. So that's the hyperlinking function. You can now come over to the audio settings area. In the audio settings area, I need to go ahead and link my audio. Now, in ProForm, you go ahead and browse for any audio or browse for an audio file and then bring that in. So if I hit browse, I go find an audio file that I may have on my desktop somewhere. Let's go ahead and find an audio file and then hit select. Now, before I do that, this brings up one important thing, is the audio file needs to be MP3. MP3 files is what's necessary in order to play inside of ProForm. If your audio files are not MP3, and let's say they're WAV formats, ProForm does not convert it for you automatically, and you won't be able to bring that in. So, before I bring this audio file in, I'm going to talk about, let me actually bring that in now, and let's talk about getting some audio ready to bring it in. I'm going to go ahead and hit select. It's going to copy of that audio file inside of my course folder. That's what I want it to do, and we'll talk about what that does here in a second. And I'm just going to click yes for now. And then now we're going to go ahead and come over to my image. So before I talk about getting audio ready, let's just finish this page real quick. And now I'm going to come over to my image, click on browse, go find an image, and then bring in an image here. Now the image does have to be, just for your knowledge, does have to be a JPEG as well. That's to bring it in this way. There's a different way that you can use a PNG file if you want to, and we'll talk about some tips and tricks that you can use that aren't really obvious to begin with. So we'll talk about some of those in case you want to use a different image format. Now there's also, with the image, I can directly position it, or I can image position. I can add some caption heading, caption text as well. Let's go ahead and hit save up on top, and let's preview this before we get into talking about audio and images here. Because I want to focus parts of this training on how to get audio ready, how to get images ready, how to get video ready, how to get different recordings ready as well, because that's a huge part of using ProForm as well. So I'm going to click on the preview magnifying glass, and then I'm going to launch this course. Now as soon as I've launched this course, you'll notice that in this course, I have the regular course style that I've been using with this other course. I have my logo up here, and I'll talk about how to replace that. I have my course title here. I have my page text, which is not much. I have my image, and I have my audio playing in the background. And if I click on the menu, I now have this menu popping up with the different pages there. So let's go ahead and now talk about how to get audio and how to get images ready inside of ProForm. Let me actually here pause to see if there are any questions. I'm not seeing any questions, so if you have any questions as we're going through this, feel free to type them in. Now, like I mentioned before, ProForm does not have an audio recorder to record your audio, but we do recommend a tool that is free called Audacity. If I go ahead and in Google, just type in Audacity, it'll pull up, and the first option is Audacity Free Audio Editor Recorder. If I click on that, it'll take me to a spot that I can download, and the beta version of 1.3 works just fine. I actually prefer that, but I can download the beta version of Audacity and use this tool to be able to record my audio. Now, I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to go ahead and pull up Audacity on my Mac side, and I'm going to show you a little bit of Audacity here. The reason why I like this tool is because I can go ahead and plug in a microphone to use, and then in that microphone I can come to, or to get that to read, I can just go to Audacity, Preferences, and then choose the recording device to be that microphone. I have this Microsoft Live Chats that I'm actually using to present right now, LX3000, which is a great microphone too, and it's also a good way to cut out noise reduction as well. It has a noise reduction. I don't know if that's the right term, but it has noise reduction in there. And that I got from Best Buy for under $40. And so it's a great microphone. You can plug that in, click OK, and then it takes you to the editing area. If I click on record here, it'll now start recording my audio. And you'll notice that I have my audio coming in and fluctuating in and out. Well, if I have a script typed out, I can go ahead and just read that script. Well, after I just hit stop, or space bar will also hit stop, and then I can come in and I can edit, I can listen to the audio, and then I can just select parts that I want to edit out. So let's say this little audio thing, I've listened to it and it's an and I want to cut out my ums. I just go ahead and select it and then hit delete. It'll delete that from it. I can go ahead and edit out certain other parts, delete those, come in here and hit record again, and it will start recording my audio. So I can have multiple different tracks inside of my audio. There's also effects where I can change pitches, I can change speeds, sorry, fade in, fade out as well, noise removal. So there's different effects, and all of this is free. And that's the reason why we don't try to compete with the audio recorder. We usually recommend this audio recorder to everyone. So I'm going to hit File and then Export, and then I'm going to export this as an MP3 file. So I can do an MP3 file, and then it's perfect to come in right into ProForm. Now we'll talk about taking these audio files and then timing it up with some animations later, but that's a whole different section once we get into Swish. But I wanted to make sure that I go over just a little bit of Audacity there. If you have any questions about Audacity, let me know. But let's go back into ProForm. Now I'm going to talk about, I mentioned that you can also use PNGs, but I'm going to talk about that here in a second. Before I do that, I want to talk about the course structure of a course when you're actually building it. Now, there's a lot of other page types that we can go over, and I'm going to go over those in a little bit, but I'm just trying to get the core things here so you understand what ProForm is doing as you're building a course. ProForm has something that makes it stand out compared to its competitors. It is native Flash source files that you can go in and customize that, which is great and all, but these courses are also XML based. No other authoring tool, as far as I know, is fully XML based. They may have XML elements to it for their different interactions, but it's not, the entire course is not fully XML based. You may disprove me on that, that's fine, but as far as I've come across, not all of them are fully XML. Now the reason why a fully XML course is important is because, or useful, is the fact that these courses, when they get produced, they're not embedded all inside of one source file, inside of one SWF file. They're actually, all of the content that you bring in, like the images and the audio, are kept at the format that you've brought them in. And in fact, when you bring them in, I'm going to go to this course folder on my desktop, which is what we created. This is my project folder. I'm going to go inside of this media folder. Let me change the view here. Well, actually, that looks fine. And when I go into that media folder, you'll notice that these images, this image that I'm using for this page is right here. And this audio file that I'm using for this page is right here as well. If I need to make a change to something inside of here, all I have to do is I can come right into the media folder, right click on it, open this up with Photoshop, make a change, and as soon as I click save, the change will then be made inside of ProForm without me having to actually do anything or republish anything. So if my course folder already resides on a server somewhere and I just need to update this one image, all I have to do is make a change to the image, name it the same thing, drag and drop it inside of this folder, and then now when the learners come to this folder or this image, it now replaces that image. The nice thing as well is you'll notice that if you come to any page, essentially any page inside of any website, if you go to a page and you go to any image and right click on it, you can copy, not in this version of, you can copy the path to that image. And so the path to that image is just where it resides on the server. Well, if you copy that path to that image, you can paste that path to that image, and ProForm can use images and audio files from other locations, from other parts of the website, from YouTube as well. You can point to a YouTube video when you're using video. And so that's the beauty about using a tool that's XML based, because it doesn't, it relies on the media that's external, and that media is easily maintainable, and it's also easily updatable or updated as well, just by dragging and dropping inside of here. Now, if you needed to add new pages with new content, then it would be easier to do that inside of ProForm, inside of ProForm, and we'll talk about doing that in a second as well. So I wanted to talk about the XML structure of it, but that also brings me to my next point. If you want to, this is all optional. I'm just trying to go over the basics here. But if you want to use a PNG file inside of a page, you can actually drag and drop the images inside of the PNG file, or the PNG files inside of this media folder. And as soon as you do that, all you have to do is come into the images, and you'll notice that when I browsed for an image, all it's doing is pointing to that image inside of my media folder. Well, if I want to, let's say I have the same image, but it's a PNG file, I can't browse and find a PNG file, but if I dragged and dropped it inside of this media folder, all I have to do is name that PNG file. So let's just do test.png, and if I did that, then it will use that PNG file when I display this. So it has to be a PNG file, but you can use a PNG file or a GIF file inside of here as well. So that's if you want to use other types of images, and that is optional. If you want to stick with JPEGs, that's fine. Go ahead and stick with the JPEG, but you could use PNG files if you need to. Now, this is only, I want to point this out as well, you can only do that, the PNG files, if your project is Player 8. So these ones that don't say Player 8, which most of them have both, like this business has a business and a business Player 8. This black slider only has Player 8. But if it has Player 8, then you can use PNG files and GIF files inside of this course. If it's not Player 8, you can't use PNG files and you can't use GIF files. Just to let you know, but let's go ahead and talk about, those are just some of the tips and tricks of pointing to external files, to using other types of images as well. So that may have been over your head, and I apologize, but hopefully that was useful for some people as well. Okay, so that's my first page inside of ProForm. Now I can go ahead and start adding other pages and adding other topics and building my course how I want it from here. But instead of going through from scratch, I'm actually going to pull up an existing course, and we're going to talk about that existing course and how it was built and go over the different types of pages inside of that course. So let me go ahead and go to this existing course, and there we see this here. So in this existing course, this is the same form that we've been working with already, the text, image, and audio form. Now this text, image, and audio form, I can go ahead and just start adding on to it if I want to. But before I do that, I want to talk about hyperlinking. Hyperlinking allows you to do the different functionality that we talked about, and you can do this in any text page or any text area. So if you're doing like a game and you want the quiz results to be, or sorry, you want the feedback to have a hyperlink, you can do that. And that hyperlink can link to other websites or it can link to other pages, external documents, or specific glossary terms. And we're going to talk about how you do that right now. So if I scroll down in my text fields in this same page that we've been looking at, you'll notice that the first hyperlink is to link to a page, and if I click on that, it pulls up a code for me to link to a different page. Now, over on the left-hand side, we have this course structure. We have the first two pages, the future of digital entertainment, video introduction, and then the third page is media port history. Now, the media port history is a hidden page. If I go back into the finished course and I click on my menu, that page does not exist inside of my menu. So how did I make it hide? First of all, because we linked it to that page, but I wanted to make it hide before I even linked it. So to hide a page, and this page is just a text page, it's just a basic page, but to hide a page, I just come into the Advanced tab, click on, by default, this is what you'll see. Ignore these top 4 different sections here, but by default, in the include in TOC, it will be checked, and the hide page will not be checked. What that is, this is by default on every single page. So to come in here and to make this not visible inside of the table of contents, I simply unlock this, uncheck it, and then lock it back up again. If I've just done that, it will not be visible in the table of contents. And so now the learner can't go to that page unless they've clicked on next. It'll still be in the sequence. When they click on next, they'll still go to those different types of pages. But because I haven't hidden the page from the navigation, the hide page hides the page from the next navigation, meaning that it won't be as part of the navigation when they just click on next. So if I do that, now the learner can't get to this page at all unless I've hyperlinked from a different page to this page. And so I've completely hidden this page using the include in TOC. I've unchecked that, and I've checked the hide page here. Now keep in mind that this is being recorded, so if you don't have this memorized, that's fine. You'll be able to review it later as well. But I'm going to go back into this page, and I'm going to go back into that text area that I clicked here. I selected the click here words, and then I clicked on the hyperlink button. As soon as I clicked on the hyperlink button, it pulls up with this dialog, which would be blank. In order to make a link go to a different page, I could just type in a URL. If I type in a URL, it'll just go to a different website. And if I have it in blank, it'll just pop up in a different window. But the URL that I used here is a code that I actually used in order to make it to go to a different page. And that code is, if you want to do this now, I recommend writing this down. That code is AS function, all one word, AS function, go to page, and it has to be capital T and capital P, comma, and then no space. Make sure you have no space between the comma and then the next phrase here. The next phrase is the name of the page. You'll notice the name of this page that we're wanting to go to is Media Port History. And so I just type in the name of that page. As soon as I do that and click OK, now as soon as the learner clicks on that, it'll go to that page. So let me pull that up one more time just to make sure everyone has that written down. It's AS function, go to page, comma, the name of the page. And that will allow you to link to other pages. Now if you have a text, image, and audio link, if the image is also a hyperlink, you can use that same code inside of the link to go to other pages as well. This could be optional pages that if the learner wants to explore more information about a certain topic, you can have optional pages inside of your course structure that are not visible by default, but that can be visible if someone clicks on it. The next thing is an extremely easy thing to do. This is to incorporate other files inside of your course. In this case, I'm using a PDF, but this could be any other type of course structure that you want. PowerPoint that would pull up if they want to reference, and so any other type of thing that you want to use. Well, in this case, I selected the word, click here, and all I had to do was type in the name of the PDF and then the extension, .pdf. If this was an Excel file, I would just need to type in the name of the Excel file, and then the extension of the Excel file, and then click OK. And that's all I have to do. Well, if that's all that you did do, then it wouldn't work right off the bat. In order to have that be able to pull up a PDF file, you then need to come into your course, and you need to drag and drop. Let me go back into this course, which is the How to Use a Kiosk one. You then need to drag and drop that PDF inside of your course structure. So in this case, it works because that PDF is sitting right inside of this course folder. So all it needs to do is find that How to Use a Kiosk.pdf extension file, and then it will take that file and pull it up when the learner clicks on that. So that way that file is contained within your course. And but if you have that pointing to a PDF somewhere on a different website, you can do that as well. You just type in the URL to that PDF on a different website. The other hyperlink button that I want to talk about is going right to a glossary term. So if I want to make this a glossary term, I just go ahead and create a hyperlink, and then in that hyperlink, it's similar to the go-to page, but it's AS function, glossary, comma, and no space between the term, but then the exact term of what you want it to go to. Now that term was already set up inside of my glossary. By clicking on Edit Glossary, I believe it's Top Sellers, I've already set up this term. And so you need to set up the term, but once you do, then you can use that hyperlink function, which I'll come back to it for you to write it down. It is then the AS function glossary top sellers, or whatever the term or the glossary is. And that's how you go right to a glossary. So to give you, remember how these works, these different hyperlinks work, is once the learner previews it, to go to a different page, I click on it, it goes to a different page. To go to a PDF document, I click on it, it pulls up a PDF in a different window as well. To go to a specific glossary term, I click on it, pulls up your glossary directly to the term top sellers or whatever term it is. So hopefully that's useful, but it's really a nice way to enhance your courses even more to take advantage of that. Is there a limit? We do have a question. Is there a limit to how long the course can be in terms of chapters, pages, in relation to file size upon export to servers? There is no restriction as far as what we do inside of ProForm for your courses. Now keep in mind that even though there's no restriction, the more files, or however large your images are, or however large your audio is when you're bringing those in, will also make your folder larger. But the nice thing about ProForm is the fact that these courses are XML based, is it's also not trying to load an entire course all at once. It's only trying to load this one image when we're on this page, and this one audio file and this text. And so all of the other interactions and videos that we may have are not being used because all of the they're not being loaded because it's only trying to load this one page, which helps with loading time. Do I need to format the link in blue with underline? No, you do not. It automatically, when you create a hyperlink, it automatically is in blue and underlined. If you want to change it from that, you can select that that text, and then you can change the color to, if you want the hyperlink to be green, you can change it to be green, whatever you want it to do there. So, okay, so let's go ahead but the default is blue and the default is underlined. What pixel size is the best for images? Good point. The pixel size depends on the style that you're using. In this case, let me go back to the first page. You'll notice I have more room inside of this size. It depends on, again, what style you're using. Some of these styles have less room, and so if I have a style that has a lot of room, I can have bigger images. And so to get those sizes of what sizes of the images you can use, at least the max size that you can use, you can come into ProForm, click on this help icon up on the top. When you do, it pulls up a help table of contents for you to search through different things. But I'm going to come down to this section that says Content Movies for Default Template. As soon as I click on that, it'll take me to all of the default templates and the max size for the presentation area. The presentation area is the white area, your content area. So you'll notice inside of a deep black style, I'm maxed out at 650 by 500. 650 being the width, 500 being the height. The width always comes in front. But you'll notice that I can't have any images that are higher than 6 or than 500. So in this case, the width or the height is 512 in this style. This is a custom style, so if it's a custom style, you will need to measure yourself, or in this case, I can give you what that is. But you can take something like Snagit, record the area of what you want it to be, and then it gives you the pixels, height, and width of what that needs to be. So here it gives me at least a size that as long as my images are not taller than 500 and not wider by 650, this image will fit perfectly inside of this course. Now, if you don't want to have to do that, or if you want to create a screen recording and just resize images inside of there, our Swish tool may work out better for you in that case, and so we'll get to that here in a second. But if you're using just like a text, image, and audio page, then this audio page or this type of page, you will need to resize the images before you bring them in. There's also free tools to have things resize automatically if needed. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue here. Now that I've added my one page, there's also other things that you can do with this one page. You can switch it to a text and video. If I did that, my text would stay the same. I can switch it to a text and image. You'll notice if I do that, my text stays the same, my image stays the same, but it just gets rid of my audio. And so a lot of these pages are pretty self-explanatory, like the basic text, image, and audio pages. Anything that has to do with image and audio, we'll just have a page that has a place for you to link your image and a place for you to link your audio. So I'm not going to go over all of those pages. Right now what I want to do is I want to go over the different interactions inside of ProForm and talk about those. I'm going to briefly go over them, and then if you have any questions, feel free to stop me and we'll go through more in depth about those. But I'm going to show you what these interactions are, and then I'm going to show you how they were built inside of ProForm. Now this interaction is a definitions page. If you don't have the latest version of ProForm, if you still have FlashForm, you may not see this page. It was a recent update to ProForm 3. So this definitions page allows you to present the learner with the definitions. The learner can then roll over the different terms, learn the different definitions, then they hit practice, and try to take these terms and drag and drop them into the matching definition. If they get it wrong, it bounces it back into place. If they get it right, it will dissolve right into the definition. And so you can then try to go in and match the rest of them. Well, this page is extremely easy to build inside of ProForm. All you have to do is add a page and then add a definitions page. So down at the bottom we have a definitions page. Well, on the definitions page, I just type in my instructions, type in term, definition, term, definition, term, definition. And as soon as I've done that, it's now built this interaction for me. If you have a question about that, feel free to type it in, but there's not much explaining that needs on the definitions page, needs to happen on the definitions page. So I'm going to go ahead and go on to the steps page. The steps page allows you to present the learner with the steps process. In the steps process, the learner can then go through the different pages, zoom in on the different images for each page, and then learn the content as they go through each step. Now inside of here, you can have whatever text you want inside of the actual step area and link in whatever image you want as well. Inside of the steps page, I just come to the steps area. I can adjust the title bar up on top to whatever color I want, and then I can go through my different steps. For each step, I go ahead and give it a step title. From here, I give it an image. I browse and find an image the same way I find any other image. I type in my text, and notice hyperlinking functionality, size, formatting, color as well. I can do all of that in here. Then I go on to step number 2. step number 3, 4, 5 through 8, and then step number 9 if you want step number 9 there. So that's, if you don't use all steps like this one, it stops at step number 6. If you don't use all steps, that's not a problem because then it just won't add it to the list over on the left-hand side. So as soon as you've done that, it's built the step-by-step interaction. Again, if you have any questions about that, feel free to type them in. The next thing I want to go over is the game pages. If you don't have the game pages and you have an older version of ProForm, you can upgrade to the newer version as well to get all of the game pages. The game pages allows me to pick a category. It pulls up a question. I can then try to choose the correct answer. If I get it right, I get the points, and if I don't get it right, I don't get the points. I like this page because coming back into the that game page, it allows me to adjust the settings, the instruction text, to have specific audio when someone gets it correct or incorrect. It also allows me to add my own categories, point values, feedback, continue audio, and then hit continue. As soon as I do that, now I'm in category 1. And in my row 1, I can type in my questions. I can still hyperlink and do other stuff like that. I can type in my feedback or the possible answers, choose which one of those answers is correct, and then this is what I really like about it. I can provide specific feedback for each individual answer. So in this case, the answer is C, but if I choose A, if the learner chooses A, I may want to provide feedback for that answer. So I just go on, once I've typed that in here, I go on to category 2 and type in possible answers and feedback that way as well. And then go on from here to category or to the different categories and type in all the questions. And as soon as I've done that, it then has pulled up it's created this game for me automatically. Now, I'm not going to go over all of the different game types because we have 4 other types of games, but if you want to see an example of those games, I'm going to show you where those are at. Let's go ahead and go to a ProForm page. You can go to any ProForm page. Let's scroll down, and then let's go to the section on the left-hand side that says Learning Games. If I click on Learn More, it'll tell me about all of the different games. We have Concentration, Categories, Scatterbrain, Risk It All, Trouble Triples, Jigsaw Puzzle, and then you can play a sample of each of those games. That will give you an idea of how they work. And then from there, all of the games are just simply filling out questions and possible answers, and then it builds all those different games for you. If you want me to go more into detail about that, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and continue here. So those are the different types of game pages. Now we're going to talk about video. Video you can bring in a couple different ways. When you add a video page, you can add just a regular video page, or you can add a text and video page. In this case, it's just a video page. And so let's just focus on video for now. To find a video, I just hit browse, I go find my video, and then I bring in my video just by selecting it and then inserting that. Now, the video has to be a certain format. The video has to be .flv extension. Most video formats are QuickTime formats, which is a .mov extension, an AVI format, which is a .avi, and a WMV format, Windows Media Video format. If you want to take those videos and if you want to use them inside of ProForm, you do need to convert them to an FLV before you can do that. In order to do that, all you have to do is use a free tool that's called Riva FLV Encoder. And there's other types of tools that will also allow you to do that as well. So I'm going to type in Riva FLV Encoder, and I'm going to pull that page or that tool up here, and we're going to talk about that tool. If you have the Flash Adobe Media Encoder, I would actually recommend using that one. It's a little bit better, but this one is free and it's also usable as well. It's what I need to do in the Riva FLV Encoder is just hit Browse and then go find a QuickTime video, AVI video, WMV video. It takes a lot of different formats, and I can go ahead and find that video and then save it, browse where I want to save it, so I can just save it on my desktop. And as soon as I do that, I can then come over to my settings. Well, I can adjust the movie size, how big this is going to be. Now, keep in mind that the different sizes available inside of ProForm. So if the size that I usually use is 640 by 480, because 720 by 556, unless I have a custom style, that's going to go off the screen. But the 640 by 480 will fit perfectly in most styles inside of ProForm. So I'm going to choose that style, or if I want it smaller so I have more text room, I can choose a smaller style. I can adjust the bit rate as well, which helps with loading time as a video. I can, and really that's, if I want to adjust more of the bit rate down here, sampling rate, I can do that and it allows me to adjust that. But if you don't know what you're doing there, I would recommend just leaving that alone here because it still converts it over well enough just with the default settings. Well, as soon as I do that, I just hit FLV encode. As soon as I do that, then it encodes the FLV, and then now that video is an FLV that I can then just bring into ProForm with this method, just finding the video and then bringing it in. Once the video is in, then that video is controlled by the scrubber, play, pause, scrub back and forth, this media controller inside of ProForm. And then you can add a text and video page and have text along with the video if you want, or just have a regular video page. The nice thing about, if this may or may not be applicable, but the nice thing about that is if you have a video that has green screen, that you've done some green screen effects to it, that video will then also, that green screen will be inside of here as well. So you can have that video playing, and then whatever you did in the green screen, you can also bring that inside of here, and you would do that when you convert it over to an FLV. You have to first shoot it with green screen, but it does handle green screen FLVs. Okay. Hold on 1 second. I actually lost my mouse here, so let me switch to a different mouse. That's a problem sometimes when you actually have a Bluetooth mouse. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue. So that's a video. You can have a text and video, and you can still use the text inside of the video and then use that inside of here. So let's talk about some other pages. Let's talk about the quiz page. The quiz page allows you to present the learner with the quiz, and then the learner can try to take those different quizzes and then choose the correct answer. And you have a lot of different question types. So I'm going to go to the quiz page inside of ProForm, and we're going to talk about the settings here. The quiz is essentially, the first page here is essentially broken up into 4 different sections. The top left-hand section, top right-hand section, bottom right-hand section, and bottom left-hand section. The top left-hand section is the different settings for the quiz. I can adjust whether or not I want to report the score to the LMS. I can adjust whether or not I want to show the results, if I want the learner to be able to see the results at the end. To give you an idea, let's go ahead and go through this quiz here. So we have a fill-in-the-blank question. I can type in the answer for that, go to my next step, and then I can try to we have a drag and drop question, so I can try to match up the steps here into the correct order. I have multiple choice. You can choose multiple different answers, true or false as well. And then at the end, it gives me a quiz results and lets me know how I did. It also allows me to review the results and scroll through question by question and see exactly what I got right and what I got wrong here as well. So at the end, it also has a spot for me to print out the results. This include review allows, if I have this selected, then the learner will be able to click on that review button and scroll through question by question and see exactly what they got right and what they got wrong. If I number the questions, it'll say like 2 out of 20, so they know how many more questions they have. If I want to randomize the questions, I can do that as well. If I want to have the questions, if I have a pool of 30 questions over here, I can have questions to ask. I can type in 10, and it will only randomly pick 10 of those 30 questions. I can adjust a passing percentage, so if I want to have a passing percentage, meaning that they have to get 80% or above, whatever you typed in here, then you can do that as well. Record lesson status is also based on your LMS as well. If you want it passed or incomplete based on SCORM 1.2. You can adjust a minimum percentage, maximum percentage, and then you can come down to the quiz introduction. This will give you an introduction to the quiz, or the learner will give an introduction to the quiz if you type in something in there. By default, whenever you add a quiz inside of ProForm, by default, you'll notice that even if you haven't typed anything in here, there will be a default introduction for the learner when a learner comes to this page. That is because this intro frame has a word intro in there that if you want it to go right into the questions, all you have to do is uncheck or unlock that, delete the word, and then lock that, and now it will go right into the questions, completely skipping the quiz or the introduction. Now, as far as the quizzes, you can click on Add, and then select what type of quiz you want it to be, or a question you want it to be. So you have a lot to choose from in the drop-down box. You choose what type of question you want, and then as soon as you add that question, it pulls up a form for that question. In every question, there's a question ID. This is for the learning management system, and you can type in Q1, question 1, whatever you want there. But something to keep in mind is the question ID cannot have any spaces contained inside of it. And so if you're typing in question 1, type in the full question and then 1 with no spaces. The weight, the learner's not actually going to see question 1, so you can type that in whatever you want, but it's just to be reported over to your learning management system. Weight is how many points this is worth. 5 points, 1 point. The default is 1 point. Question text, go ahead and type that in. Correct answer, true or false. Override feedback. If you don't want to use the global feedback over on the right-hand side, you can override that feedback and then provide specific feedback for that question. So the types of questions that you can add, and I'm not going to go over all of them, but feel free, if you want one specifically talked about, feel free to type that in and I'll go over that question. But we have true or false questions, multiple choice questions, multiple correct questions, image multiple choice, fill in the blank questions, essay questions, category drag and drop, steps drag and drop, multiple correct with audio, multiple choice with audio, multiple choice with image, and multiple correct with image. So those are your choices of quizzes, and you can have different, you can randomize them, you can have different types of questions within the quiz. And then you can select on the print email, and you can say, okay, I want them to be able to print out the email or print out the results. This will allow them to be able to print it out. You can send a message to the learner as well, or to send an email. If you have an email, then the learner, you actually have to type in what email you want this to go to. But when the learner clicks on email, it'll send an email of the quiz results to whatever email you've typed in here. And that's optional. If you have a learning management system, the quiz results will get reported over to the learning management system. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's talk about some other things here. Let's talk about the certificate page. The certificate page allows me to actually present the learner with the certificate once they've met a certain criteria. If this is what I'd see by default. I can have it prompt for a name if I want to. If I don't, I can also have it just use the LMS name if it's in a learning management system. I have a blue certificate or a green certificate that I can use, or I can upload my own certificate. As soon as I do that, all I have to do is type in the course description. Upload my own logo, and then as soon as I do that, when the learner gets to this page, they can print out a certificate. But if I don't want them to be able to get to this page until they've met a certain criteria, all I have to do is select restricted or restrict certificate. You have two different options with restrict certificate based on LMS completion, which means once they've met a completion status inside of the learning management system, then they'll be able to get to the certificate, or based on visiting each page. If I have that selected, that means they can't get to this topic or this certificate until they've visited every page. And that's what I have selected in here. Let's go to that certificate. So if I just tried to skip to that certificate, it says that the course is not complete. I haven't met the criteria. And I can change whatever I want to have it pop up there, just typing in whatever I want there. But now as soon as and I do this for demo purposes, let's go ahead and just skip through all of these pages. Now you can restrict the learner from being able to skip through all of these different pages if you want, but I'm just doing this again for demo purposes. If I then type in my name, he hits continue, now the certificate pops up where I can print out my certificate with my logo, certificate of completion, description, and everything right within there. So that's how you use a certificate page. Okay. Let me go ahead and add a page, and I want to make sure we've gone through most of the content because we will come back to the external SWF. We talked about certificate, definition pages, some of the game pages. Image mouse rollover is just an image where you can roll over different images and learn about that image. We'll come back to PowerPoint when we go over the screen recorder. Oh, the soft skills simulation. I do want to talk about that. But we talked about video, we talked about audio, we talked about images, and then we'll get to the SWF here in a second. But let's go ahead and talk about the soft skills simulation page. The soft skills simulation page, I don't have an example inside of this example, but I'm going to go to our website, and I'm going to go to the soft skills page, going to any ProForm page, and I'm going to scroll down to where it says soft skills. By clicking on learn more, it then allows me to walk through a sample of the soft skills. If I walk through a sample, this will give me an idea of what this soft skills page can do. The soft skills page allows you to present the learner with the scenario, and then depending on the choices that they make, will take them down different paths. So in this case, it's a customer service scenario. This is an image, but I can have a video instead of an image if I want it to be a video instead of the image. I can read the text, or I'm listening to the audio that's controlled by the scrubber down here. And then I have a couple different options. In this case, a customer comes in, he's upset. How do I react to this customer? Well, I have a couple different options on how to react. So I can choose one of those options, and depending on my choices will take me down different paths and different scenarios. I can listen to voice reflections, and so I can see what sounds better as well. And then I can choose one of those options. Now, I see that the indicator went down a little bit, letting me know that that may have not been the best choice. And I can see how the customers reacted to my choice. I can then try to make up that response just by clicking on a different response. As soon as I do that, it then lets me know that this situation got way out of hand, what the situation ended up being like, and then now I can click on show feedback. Now the situation is over. In this case, you can have this as many steps as you want. By clicking on show feedback, I can now scroll through to see what the scenario was, what I chose my best response to be in that scenario, and then feedback specific from you as the instructor and how many points I either gained or how many points I lost on that step. Now I can start over and I can scroll through each step, or I can start over and try again, and I can try to choose something different. If I choose something different, I can see how the customer in this case will react differently to me. Now this doesn't have to be customer service. It could be sales scenario. It could be, I've heard technicians using it as well. So it could be whatever type of scenario you want it to be. Okay. Now the soft skills page, to add a soft skills page, you just click on add a page, give the page a name, select from the drop down box what type of page you want it to be. In this case, soft skills. You type in the scenario, you link your audio or video, or you link your image, type in the failure or success labels as well. If this is the very first page, you click on this is the start page, and you do want to unhide it because most soft skills pages are hidden by default. So you want to unhide it, and you do want to include this at the table of contents. Now keep in mind that this is being recorded, so if you don't remember all the steps, you can come back to this as well. So if I have this included, now I can go ahead and type in the scenario. I can give my 4 different choices, and on each choice, I type in the choice, link some audio if I want there to be audio, tell it how many points they either lose or gain on this step, and then say what page this will go to if they choose this choice. And then I can type in feedback. Well, if I type in page 1, you'll notice that there's not a page 1 inside of here, but I would need to, this means that if they choose choice number 1, it's going to go to page 1. I need to add another page, which is another soft skills page. And depending on how long your scenario is, this could get a little complex. We do have some forms that help you outline it a little bit better. But now I have a different page that's page 1. I don't need to unhide this because I don't want the learner to see that they're going to a lot of different pages. I want them to feel like they're on just this one page. So in this case, I type in, now the customer starts yelling back, and give them some more choices. Now, as soon as I've done that, I can link it however I want inside of there, and then it's created that branching case scenario that goes down different pages and different interactions. So that's how you use the soft skills page. If you have any questions about that, feel free to type them in. But let's go ahead and go on to a different page here. Let me actually pause to see if there's any questions. Okay, there's not any questions, so let's go ahead and continue. With the different types of pages that you can build inside of ProForm, we also, as you notice, that all of the pages that we've gone through so far are forms that you fill out the different elements and type in the different questions and text. Well, this really, like I mentioned at the very beginning, this doesn't lend itself really well to animations. If you wanted to time things to audio and to have images fade in at different points of your course. Well, that's why we bundled in an additional tool called Swish with our ProForm Premium packages. Now, again, I say bundled in for the later versions of ProForm. If you have an earlier version, you may not have had this included inside of your purchase. Now, this Swish animation tool can still be purchased if you have a later version and you just want to get the Swish animation tool. Well, if I click on that Swish animation tool launcher, it actually will launch the animation tool for me. And then I'll show you how you start building a course or building an animation inside of that tool. Now keep in mind, I'm going to show you an example here. We're just worried about the content inside of this presentation area. We're going to build an animation that will play inside of this course. So we don't have to build the next and back buttons. We don't have to build the other types of interactions. We just have to build the animation. Well, this is a sample animation of what can be done inside of Swish. You'll notice that we had a text fade in and fade out. And now at this point, we have some images that are fading in at different sections of the actual page. And so we brought in some images, and these images can be vector images, they can be PNG images, and you can bring those in and you can resize them right inside of Swish. We can have them fading in at different points. We can then have them moving over and text fading in at different points as well with different effects. So in this case, it's a simple animation, but it really takes my course to a whole new level. And this animation tool allows me to build these animations without knowing any programming. And then I can take these animations and then bring those inside of ProForm. So Rapid Intake has some starter templates that will fit perfectly inside of your ProForm courses that you can use to start with Swish. So to start an animation, all I have to do is click on New Movie. If I click on New Movie, it pulls up with a category picker that I can pick a new movie from a template, or I can come down to Rapid Intake and then start from a Rapid Intake template. These Rapid Intake templates, some of them are just basic that will fit perfectly, are the size that will fit perfectly inside of my course. So you'll notice if I pull this up, kind of align it here, now this animation area is basically the presentation area that I'm building here. So now I have this blank canvas for this page that I want to build. If I have some audio that I'm going to time things up to, I can just click on Insert, Import Sound, find some audio. Now the audio can be MP3 or it can also be WAV format. So if you have a WAV format, you can do that. But now I have this audio on my timeline. So I have this timeline that I can start timing things up to my audio. Well, to do that, all I have to do is click on Insert, Import Image, and then find an image that I want to animate. Now that I have an image inserted here, I can position that image where I want. By inserting that image, I can then insert other images if I want to. Or I can take that image and I can start adding effects to that image. To add an effect to an image, I just select the image, click on Add Effect, go down to the effect that I want. I can do a simple fade in, zoom, slide in and out, slide from the top, slide from the bottom, blur, appear into position, and it has a lot of different effects here. And if I wanted to just do my own custom thing, I can do that as well. But in this case, I'm just going to do fade in. It creates a fade in timeline. If I go on my playhead over on my timeline here, I just click anywhere, it'll pull up this red line that allows me to scroll over and see exactly what's happening. So in this case, it will take 10 frames, because we're on frame 10 here, to have this fade in. Well, I can move that over to wherever I want that to fade in. So if I want to time this up to my audio, I can move it where I want. I can stretch it out how I want, and then I can go ahead and see how that fade in is going to look. I can hit the play button up on top to see that in real time, to see how it's going to fade in and adjust it how I want. Hit stop to then go ahead and start adding some other stuff. Now the nice thing is I can also make this move. If I want to select my image, click on the motion path tool, I can say, okay, I want this to be moved over here. It creates a move animation that I can scrub over and see what that looks like, and it will move from that one side to the next slide, and all I have to do is click where I want it to move. I can then have it move somewhere else, and so it starts moving in different paths if I want. But in this case, I just want it to move over, and then after it's moved over, I can then have, you'll notice that if I take on my last frame, there's this little dot. If I take my playhead and move it to the last frame, I can actually change the properties of this image. So if on the last frame, I want this image to kind of rotate, then as it's moving over, it's going to rotate to that image. So there's other animations that you can do, and so you can add in your text, and you can have text be animated as well. By clicking on Add Effect, you can add like a typewriter effect and do different things inside of there. You can also create your own shapes and images. By creating your own shapes and images, I think I just deleted something. Okay. By creating your own shapes and images, let me start from one that's already here. By creating your own shapes and images, you can actually create like arrows. You can have different things. You can bring in an image, and then you'll notice that I got a little complex on my movements here, but I took this arrow and I made movements on my timeline to rotate at different parts and to stop and pause at different parts to rotate to different elements as I'm talking about it. And then I brought that animation of that arrow coming in. It looks complex, but it's really not that complex. But then I brought in that arrow, that animation, moving inside of ProForm. And now you can take that arrow. All I had to do was create it using this arrow, different shapes that I can do as well. Now the nice thing about this as well is the fact that Swish comes with some components and some artwork. You have a lot of different, like some that may or may not be applicable, but like baseballs, balloons that you can use. You also have some call-outs. I like these ones a lot, because the call-outs are like thought bubbles. If you have a guy that you want to have some thought pop up, you can do that, and then have these, type in some text inside of the thought bubble and have these thought bubbles as well. All of this comes with Swish, and all of this is meant to, this is optional. You don't need to do this, but all of this is meant to enhance your courses even more and take them to a whole new level. Okay, so that is Swish. Once you're done with Swish, let me go back into one here. Once you're done with Swish and you're ready to get this out to your learners, all you have to do is take your course, take this animation, go to File, Export, and export to an SWF. It's a flash animation, so I can then come into ProForm, click on the Add a Page, and then go to, go to the default page. Once you're on a default page, there's only one spot for you to link that animation. So you hit Browse, go find that animation on your desktop, find that animation, insert it in here, and then have that autoplay, and it will just automatically play that animation. You can, because this is SWF, you can also bring in other files from Captivate, from Camtasia, whatever produces an SWF, you can use other files in that same way. Using our screen recorder, RapidCam screen recorder, you can also record your screen, and the recorded screen will also be an animation. So if I hit record now, I have options of plugging in my microphone, using my mouse to record, and to do like a software tutorial. If I'm trying to teach someone how to do something, I can click on standby, hit F9, and as soon as I do that, I can drag out an area of what I want to record. Then I can hit enter, and now it's recording. That's all of my movements and all of my sounds in this area. I can hit stop. It'll save it as an SWF. I can then edit that SWF by clicking on this icon and edit the recording, or I can watch the recording and see what it's like. So I can see where that recording is going, and then I can bring that recording inside of my SWF page inside of ProForm. Or instead of a software tutorial, you can record a PowerPoint. All of the animations and sounds and timings of your PowerPoint will be converted to an SWF, and you can bring them in the same way using your SW or using the default page here. So that's a little bit of our RapidCam screen recorder and also a little bit of our Swish animation tool. Feel free to type anything in if you have any questions about either of those tools. I'm going to pause here for a second so I can take a drink. And let's go ahead and continue it. We talked about the different games. We talked about the different interactions that are available inside of ProForm. And that's how you start building your course and structuring your course. You can click on Edit Glossary to add glossary terms by coming down at the bottom. You can add a glossary term, and then in those glossary terms you can also have links to other pages. Well, on every page of ProForm you can also have an optional, and the Advanced tab, you have optional narration text. That allows the learner on any page to click on the transcript or read button, and narration will pop up for that text. You can use it as more notes for this page. You can use it as for the transcript of the page of what the person is being said or saying. If you don't have access, or if the learner doesn't have access to speakers or to audio. And so there's a lot of different options that you can use in that narration text. Notice you also have hyperlinking functions where you can hyperlink to other, you can use that for your other documents that reference this page as well. So once you've added your glossary, you've edited your project, you're ready to go, all you have to do is hit Publish Course. When you hit Publish Course, and then you choose different methods. A non-LMS server, which is just a regular website. If you have it on a regular website, you can select a non-LMS server. It will include flash cookies for you automatically unless you uncheck that. It will also include a start file, where it's a launcher file basically, and then you hit Publish. What that does is it creates all of the necessary files in order for this course to be run inside of your website. So all of the necessary files will then be inside of here that you can then use this course however you want. Now the next thing, the other options are CD-ROM. If I create a CD-ROM, it'll actually create a window file or create flash cookies as well, but I can do it to a Windows or to a Macintosh CD-ROM as well. And then I can take these files from my folder, and it will create an auto-run file in order to run on a CD-ROM, and I can take these files and drag and drop them on a blank CD and then burn that CD. And because the auto-run file is in there, it'll automatically run, run that course as soon as the learner pops in the image or that CD. SCORM 1.2, it'll create all of the manifest identifier files, course title files, scope files. You can add keywords, life cycle versions as well, and then hit Publish. And as soon as you do that, all of the necessary SCORM files will then be created inside of this course to run on your learning management system. You can take this course and you can back it up before you publish anything, and you can save a copy of it somewhere else. But you can take these courses and then you can publish them to different formats. SCORM 2004 as well, or AICC compliant learning management system. You hit Publish, it creates all of the necessary files. If this is going on a learning management system, all I need to do is zip up this folder and then upload it to my learning management system, and then start assigning my learners from there. And then I can open this course back up later, make some changes to it if I want, and then re-upload it back to my learning management system. So that's ProForm. And that's all that I have, really. Being able to take these courses, to upload them to your learning management system, the different types of pages that you can build inside of ProForm. Hopefully that gives you an overview of ProForm. And right now, I just want to open it up to questions. I will stay on the line for a little bit and answer any questions that you may have. If you don't have any questions, thank you for taking the time to take a look at ProForm. You can also email me. But also, as a reminder, go to Resources, Training, Online Tutorials, Live Webcast right here, and then the recorded version of this will be down at the bottom. And if you're watching the recorded version, then feel free to contact me as well by going to company contact us. And my name is Jeff Batt again. And so Jeff Batt right here, my email, my phone number. Feel free to contact me at any point if you need help with that. But that's all that I have. So thank you, everyone. If you don't have any questions, feel free to take off. If you do, feel free to type them in so I can help you out with those. If you have anything that you want that you didn't see that you want to see as well, feel free to type those in as well. I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.